The spring at White Wells had been known for a long time. The earliest reference to it was made in the 1690s. But William Middleton saw that this could be an advantage, especially after the huge growth of spa towns elsewhere in England, such as Morven and Leamington Spa. A visitor to the town in 1709, Dr. Richardson, found, "Ilkley is a very mean place, and is equally dirty and insignificant, and chiefly famous for a cold well, which has done remarkable cures in scrofulous cases by bathing and in drinking of it." In 1791, White Wells was developed. 2 bathing baths were created out of solid rock and a wall built round them. There was no roof until further improvements were made in the 1820s. Visitors came during the season, really the summer months, from July to September, presumably when they thought that the water might be a little warmer. To get to them, people would have gone up from the village by donkey. It's now become an annual ritual to jump in the baths on New Year's Day, when the water is around 6 degrees. Too cold for some to last more than a few seconds. However, you do have to be careful. 9-year-old Anne Harper drowned in here on the 15th of August 1793. Those that couldn't afford the price to bathe here could go to the building to the west, the Poor Baths, which alas are now toilets. But White Wells is not the only well to be found in the area. There is a chalybeate well on the Grove. This was renewed in 1923, and another at the top of Heber's Gill that was discovered in 1863. This well at Menston, an unusual one with its 12-foot trough, is called Lady's Well. At one time a well house covered it, with steps down to it, when built in 1665. This well, near Street Farm at Addingham, is reputed to have healing properties. Not as though you would want to try it now. And of course, the well at Denton had to match its surroundings. This is called St. Helen's Well. St. Helen was the mother of the Roman Emperor Constantine the Great, and her name is often associated with holy wells. Although the spa was a success, the people of Ilkley were still very poor. This is a list of 26 poor people who were eligible for parish relief in 1816. Visitors had to lodge in thatch cottages, but it was slightly easier to get here when a stagecoach began running to and from the Rose and Crown in 1822. You had to get up early to catch it. It left at 7 a.m. and took 2 hours to get to Leeds via Otley. It only operated 3 times a week as well. But what really triggered the expansion was the opening of the Ben Ridding Hydro at Wheatley in 1846. The former mayor of Leeds, Hamer Stansfield, had visited Gruffenberg in Austria in 1843, where Vinzenz Priesnitz, a peasant, had successfully cured his father by using water treatments. His water treatment cures had rich and famous people flocking to him from all over Europe. The hydro became so well known that Wheatley became known as Ben Ridding. The water cure wasn't quite a holiday, as these cartoons of the time show. The cure not only depended on lots of cold water treatments, which certainly would have got the circulation going, but also lots of exercise, whether out walking on the moors or playing sport. They were woken up at 6 a.m. and went to bed at 10 p.m. Meals were also meagre. In fact, the well-to-do residents were paying for a healthy lifestyle, much like the health spas of today. Ben Ridding initially had 80 beds, but was enlarged under the physician Dr. William MacLeod to 160 beds in 1859. Others were keen to emulate the success of Ben Ridding. The next hydro to be built was Wells House in 1856 at a cost of £30,000. It had 87 bedrooms. This imposing building was designed by Cuthbert Broderick, the architect who designed Leeds Town Hall. Other hydros included Craiglands in 1859, which was doubled in size in the 1890s, and Trout Beck in 1863, which has been a nursing home since 1985. Others have since been demolished, such as Stony Lee in 1981 and The Grove in 1989. This was its spring, now dried up. It stands forlornly in a rear car park. Hydros were expensive places to stay at, and this led to a boom in hotels. The Crescent was built in 1860 and the Cow and Calf in the 1890s. If the Middletons had developed Ilkley as a textile centre, none of this wealth would have flowed into the town.